Hey everyone, welcome to another AfroNihongo. This time the question of the day is, what the hell is Shintoism? If you look it up on Wikipedia, it'll probably tell you that it's an animism religion, and that it's the only native religion that exclusively belongs to Japan. So basically you might get the impression that it's just ancient Japanese people, you know, praying to the sun and the stars and the trees and the rocks. And that is partly true, but definitely not all that Shintoism is. For example, Shintoism has a very extensive catalog of monsters, and in fact there's an entire book of just insects, like made-up insects that supposedly cause diseases. And there are many more kinds of monsters. They're just endless, and it depends upon the region. And because of this, you know, you wonder why Japan comes out with so many monster-based TV shows, books, video games, Pokemon for example. Why are they so good at making monsters? Well, their culture has been doing it for over 2,000 years, so there's a cool little fun fact. Another thing about Shintoism is what they worship is not limited to monsters and nature. Basically anything that has merit and could be seen in like a godly light could potentially, in the context of Shintoism, become a god, or as they say, a kami. In fact, one of the shrines, the Shinto shrines in Japan, is completely devoted to Thomas Edison. The entire thing is, you know, it's because he was the one who brought electricity to Japan. And, you know, electricity could arguably be like a part of nature because of lightning and stuff like that, but Shintoism is also kind of like voodoo in the sense that when you want to talk to, in the really old days, the emperor and empress of Japan weren't just royalty, they were also kind of like, they could communicate with the dead and the gods, allegedly. So the emperor would play some, I forget what the instrument is, but he'd play some kind of like music, and then the woman would be possessed by the spirit of the kami, and the kami would speak through her, and then the society of Japan would know what to do next. And what's even cooler than that is when the god did speak through the empress, he spoke in sentences whose syllables go 5-7-5. A haiku, and that's the legend where haikus came from. Haikus are the prose of choice for the kami. For some reason, Shintoism, women just inherently have a higher ability when it comes to spirituality. Women far more than men. I mean, I can't even remember any male examples. Women are always the ones who kind of do the weird ritual that their eyes roll to the back of their head and they have a seizure, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're possessed by a ghost or a god, or something like that. And they still have them today. They're called itako, and a lot of people go to see them to communicate with their dead relatives, kind of like we would with like a seance. And there's one really famous itako that not a lot of people outside of Japan know about, I don't think. And she is a prostitute, and her deal is she has 3 specialties. One is she will be possessed with the soul of a famous person, and then you can have sex with that famous person. 2 is she will get possessed by the soul of someone you know, like a loved one, and then you can have sex with them. And then 3 is she will become you, and then you can have sex with yourself. I don't know what that means. I don't, like, obviously she doesn't allow like filming or anything like that, but does she literally become you? Like, would I be like looking at my face? Would I hear my voice? Like, and why would anyone want to do that? It sounds awful, but apparently people go for it, to each their own. And like all religions, Shintoism has a creation story, but what's different about it is it's only about how Japan was created, not the earth. So it's really super Japan specific. So there are 2 gods, Izanami and Izanagi, and they were like man and wife. And together they took a spear and dipped it into the ocean, and then like the drippings became the islands of Japan. Yeah. And then one of their offspring was the goddess of the sun, called Amaterasu. And for a really long time, the people who believed in Shintoism believed that the emperor of Japan was a direct descendant of this god. So if you want to know what makes Japanese emperors different than Chinese emperors, there are a whole lot of things, but one of them is the Japanese emperor was literally believed to be a divine being, a god, whereas Chinese emperors were just a scholar. They were just smart. And that's part of what built Japan up with so much like nationalistic pride and power and stuff leading up to World War II, was because so much emphasis was put on the fact that, you know, the Japanese are a divine race, you know. All the other races didn't descend from Amaterasu, the sun god. Like, so Japan, they're like the chosen ones. But right after World War II, General MacArthur went over there and forced the emperor to tell everyone that he was just a normal man. And then he became a biologist, which is pretty ironic. And in present day Japan, no one practices Shintoism, though there are still like shrines everywhere, and its influence is deeply ingrained in the culture. No one actually practices the religion of Shintoism. I took a class, an entire semester on Shintoism, and basically what I learned about Shintoism in that class is nobody knows anything about Shintoism. So I could go on and on trying, like, talking about conjectures about what certain things in the religion meant and where it came from, but if I had to just cut this short and explain what Shintoism is in one sentence, I would say Shintoism is the celebration or worship of that really thin line between what is real and what isn't in your mind. It's the celebration of that thing you saw in the corner of your eye, and you looked and nothing was there, but you swore something was there. That's what it's about. It's about what we can't understand, as are most religions. But Shintoism is the Japanese perspective of that idea. So I hope you learned something. I hope you don't think Shintoism is just like, you know, love trees, love grass, love animals, you know, that kind of thing. It's much, much more complex. I mean, people are still studying it today. It's not much is understood about it, so, thank you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. That would be super dope. And I'll see you next time.